Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Android, Spotify, or the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Off the Floor. Click the link right here in the description. You get to bypass the Apple upcharge, just $2.99 per month. Gives you access to 11 different channels, as well as our stage shows, our exclusive stage shows. So check it out. It's Off the Floor. This episode is specially sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. You can find them at Underdog Fantasy at the App Store or the Google Play Store. Use the code 5 FIVE, get up to $1,000 in free play. So check it out. Again, it's Underdog Fantasy. There are certain restrictions. Again, you got to use the code 5 to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly, but also must be at least 18 in several states, as well as 21 in other states. Sign up again using Underdog Fantasy, 1-800-GAMBLER if you think that you have an issue. And now, today's episode.
Down the Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust.
You sound scared.
It's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the Five Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at Five Reasons Sports. We got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket. And we've got the guy who's made a big impact on the court as the Miami Heat have put a winning streak together prior to the Toronto Raptors coming in here on Thursday night. We've got Dru Smith. Drew, we really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to be here.
I want to start here with your story a little bit because I was reading back on some articles and in terms of your background in the Evansville area in Indiana. And I wanted to kind of go back to what you thought you could become, because in some of the stories I've read, you weren't sure you were a Division I player at one point, and now you're getting rotation minutes in the NBA. Did you doubt yourself at that point, like how far this career would go?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably in high school, I wasn't exactly sure what it was going to look like. I wanted to play at the college level. Obviously, every kid wants to play at Division I level and then, kind of see where it goes. But I didn't necessarily see it going this way, I wouldn't say. I didn't have any, huge offers. I had, I think, two or three offers coming out of high school. I went to Evansville, which was obviously where I was at, it was home. I moved 5 minutes down the road. So definitely was, I was also a kid that wasn't, I didn't want to be oh, I just want to go to the NBA, because it didn't seem that realistic really at the time. So that's just kind of how it was.
I'm going to have Alex get into some of the defensive stuff with you, which is how you're starting to make your name in the game here. But when you transferred to Missouri, which is where you went from Evansville, I mean, you led the team in scoring. I saw 1 year you shot almost 40% from three, but did you start to feel from kind of a young age that defense would be your calling card for the most part?
Yeah, I think so. Like I was saying, I was on a pretty solid high school team. I think we were state runners up. But I was the fourth leading scorer on the team my junior year. I think I averaged 10 points, but that was kind of how I found my way on the floor. It was just playing defense. We played like a zone, and so I was just up there trying to get as many steals as I could, basically. So that's kind of how I got on the floor initially, and then it's just kind of taken off from there.
Well, Alex, we talked about him being at the top of the zone, right? That's where you've made a big impression, or in addition to the man-to-man defense. So that's always been something that you've been comfortable with. The point of attack, top of the zone.
Definitely, that's my high school coach. Still, he just talked. I was just talking to him the other day, and that's just kind of where he put me there, and it all just kind of worked out from there. It's kind of a natural fit, and been doing it ever since.
So Drew, you've been with the Heat, you've had multiple years, multiple opportunities with them. You're kind of becoming a mainstay now in the rotation there. What has changed for you over the years, with all this experience you've had with the organization? I know you were with the Nets at one point, and you came back and got another try with the Heat, and everything that took place last year. Throughout everything that's happened since you first joined the organization, what do you think has changed for you the most to kind of allow you to get in the spot and kind of get a longer leash at more minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly what's changed the most is just like my confidence level and the feeling that, that I belong out there and that I can impact these games in one way or another. I think that's probably the biggest thing that's changed. When I first was here, first coming in, you don't really know where you're going to fit in. You're leaving college, that kind of thing, just trying to find your way. But I feel like I believe in myself at this point. I understand that if I get those opportunities, that I think that I can have an impact on the game. And so I'd say that's honestly the biggest thing that's changed for me.
There's been a lot of comparisons of you to a player who obviously had some success here and ended up starting in the finals, Gabe Vincent. In terms of your story, maybe he was a bigger scorer, maybe in college, but he did have a defensive reputation. He was somebody that Spoelstra there took a liking to at the very beginning, and I think at first it was kind of hard to see the fit with Gabe, and then over time we saw it more and more as he got more comfortable. I mean, some of these stories, like whether it's Haywood, who you're playing with right now, or Duncan, who obviously has become the all-time three-point shooting leader in the league, not just for the Heat, coming as an undrafted guy, and obviously Max and Gabe and Caleb and some of those that came before you. What kind of inspiration have you drawn from their paths? And also, in terms, what do you think it was that got Spoelstra to take such an interest in continuing to develop you?
Yeah, I mean, I think from all those guys, I think, as you come in undrafted in the same way, you look at those guys and you're kind of like, one way or another, I'd love to find myself in those same positions, and not even necessarily like the outcomes that they got, just with those same opportunities, having those chances to go out there and prove yourself. I mean, that's really all that you can ask for, especially coming in undrafted. So I think definitely draw inspiration from all of them, like Max, Gabe, Caleb, Duncan, all those guys. And just getting to be here with them all too definitely helped. Just, them kind of pushing you along, talking you through how different things go, because it's definitely up and down when you're undrafted. When you're on a two-way, you never really know when those opportunities might come. So just trying to stay ready. And then as far as Coach Spo goes, I think he just believed that I could impact winning. I think more than anything, that's usually kind of the things that he says is just one way or another, that I'm just looking for ways to win. I don't necessarily care how that comes. So, I mean, I think that's really what I try to do. What I try to buy into is just trying to find a way to help win games.
One quick follow on that.
Yeah.
Gabe specifically, how is your game different from his offensively and defensively?
I don't know. It's tough. Obviously, I think we're different players. I think that he defended maybe in a different way. But also in similar ways. I mean, I think it's tough to say. I think that I'm more maybe I'm a little bit more of a spot up guy, where I think he off the ball, I think that he was more ball dominant. I think that I'm not ball dominant, but he was on the ball a little bit more, I would say, than what I am right now. Like, I think I'm okay being off the ball if that just means spacing the floor and taking shots whenever I'm open. I'm okay with that as well.
So one question that I had for you, Dru, when, again, you've had multiple years with this organization, so none of this stuff is new for you. You've seen it for years now. But as a defensive guard, right, somebody who, has really made their name on the defensive end of the floor and been, frankly, spectacular from that end, just throughout the years, I think it's got to be fun, right, to play for a system like Spo's, where you play such an aggressive defense, where you're kind of encouraged to be a defensive playmaking type of team. Like we've talked about it here on this podcast for years, that, when you guys are forcing turnovers, you guys are at your best, right? Yeah. So you get to play an aggressive defense. And not only that, you get to cycle through different coverages, right? So I feel like as a defensive guard, is that gratifying to kind of be able to know that, you can play in all these different coverages and you also get to be aggressive, maybe encouraged to not always take the risks and gamble a whole lot, maybe like Jimmy does. But I'm sure maybe more than other teams. Is that the case? Is it a fun thing to be able to kind of, show off your defense in all these different ways?
Yeah, I think it's definitely fun. I think it's fun in the sense that it's challenging. Like we're switching coverages, we're switching from zone to man, just all the different things. Like you always have to make sure that you're locked in. So I think that's really where the fun comes in. Like finding different ways to, as Spo would say, be disruptive in all the different coverages, all the different situations, and also just practicing them. Like, I think that's something probably that goes unnoticed, is like just the little things that we're working on in practice, like trying to get deflections, looking for spots where, you know, you may be able to get a steal that you might not have really thought of before. So definitely fun. And like you said, definitely a great system to play in if you're a defensive minded guard.
All right, so let's get to some fun stuff here. Haywood has a nickname, the Locksmith.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't take the Locksmith because he already has it. Otherwise, you could play off of your last name. So what are we going with here? Like, well, what is because you seem like let's just start here. You seem like a very unassuming guy. I mean, you came to the podium the other night, and Bam like literally wanted to credit you with the entire winning streak. Like, what is the reason we're winning? And he said Dru, and you said no. Ask that question again. So that first thing, let's just start there before we get to the nickname. That's just your personality, right? Like you're not. Yeah. You don't seem like. I mean, you're not Jimmy in that regard. Like that, right? We could draw a distinction there.
Yeah, I think you could draw a distinction there. Yeah, I'd say I'm definitely a quieter guy. I don't need any of the, I don't need any of the attention or anything like that to come my way. Just, like I said, looking to impact winning, really.
Okay, so all right, so what we can impact winning is not a nickname, so we need a nickname for you, right?
I know I can't. H keeps trying to give me his nickname, and I'm like, I can't take that. But I'm not that creative to come up with one. You guys got one for me?
Well, I'm thinking we should poll it. I mean, that's what we do here. We interact with the fans on a regular basis. We interact on social media. I mean, Alex, do you have any ideas here for Dru?
Wait, so you're saying Haywood is like loaning you the name? He's like insisting that you also take the. So maybe we should play out for that then. It's like remember like the old like it was a Cat in the Hat thing 1 and thing 2. Maybe there's Locksmith 1 and Locksmith 2. Like I don't know, there's something there. I'm sure we can come up with something. But...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, so we'll try. Well, Haywood is unassuming in his own right. Like he hasn't really changed very much.
Yeah, definitely.
Since he came in. All right, the other question I got to ask you is because I'm reading back here, and why'd you cut your hair? I got to ask because you came to camp this year. Everybody made a big deal. Jimmy comes with the braids, different colors, all the rest of this. Tyler with the buzz cut. Yeah. This year, I don't know what Duncan's doing, but what was the impetus for this? Because you came in with a different look this time.
Yeah, honestly, I'd been thinking about it for a while. I'd had my long hair. I hadn't had like clippers on my head since like 6th grade. Like I just kind of let it go. When I left to go to Missouri, I really just let it go. And that's kind of when it started growing actually long. And then, we went home. I was here most of the summer rehabbing, that kind of stuff. We went home and my wife was kind of like, you should cut your hair, coming back. You didn't play all year, like new knee, new you, this kind of thing. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And then one day I was just like, all right, let's do it. And so I scheduled it and everything. And we just went in and cut it off. It was kind of just spur of the moment kind of thing. But I feel like it was time. I had been thinking about it for a while and just never really had the nerve to do it.
Do you feel like a piece of you is gone? Like sometimes people, I mean, it's totally different for you at this point.
Those first couple of days, I was definitely getting thrown off. I'd like catch myself in a mirror or something, and I was just like, oh man, this is kind of crazy. Like, but I'm used to it now, and I like it. It's definitely a lot less work than before.
So Dru, you and Haywood, we were just talking about him. You guys have some of the best individual defensive stats on the team, and it kind of matches up with the and you fans and seeing they're on the floor. The Houston Rockets, for example, they've got this whole thing going on with Amen Thompson and Tyree Easton, right, where fans are calling them the Terror Twins. I don't know if there's some, again, like going back to the nickname thing, right, with you and Haywood. I don't know. There can be some sort of variation there on that, just because like a defensive duo in that way. But to get away from the nickname thing, it feels like as of late, with some of the decisions with the rotation, you guys are leaning back into the defensive identity. And it's something that, we've talked about here forever. Like I mentioned before, when you guys are at your best, I feel, when you guys are forcing turnovers and really playing to the defensive standard first, kind of taking pressure off of the offense, having to always be on point and, giving yourself the easy buckets as well. How much of that, like, is there any sort of process change that has kind of taken place here throughout the season, that you guys have gotten back to the defensive identity? Or do you think it's just executing the same game plan at a higher level? How do you feel about where you guys stand there on that end of the floor?
Yeah, I think it's always an emphasis. I think it's something that we we're always talking about coaching, kind of, making sure that we're trying to keep on point. I just feel like over this last little stretch that we've executed a little bit better on the defensive end. We've been a little bit more active, and it's not it's not huge jumps necessarily that we needed. I don't think. I think it's just small little details here and there that we're kind of cleaning up and taking care of, and just game by game, I think the defense is continuing to get better.
Well, we obviously know what you can do on the defensive side. We saw it from the very beginning. I think the question for a lot of fans and maybe even for coaching staff was offensively, where would you fit there? And you talked about being comfortable playing off the ball. I think you've made 6 of your last 11 threes. I don't want to jinx it, but it also looked to us like you've changed the shot up a little bit. Did you? Is it quicker? Is it just in terms of form? What did you work on this offseason to get more comfortable there?
Yeah, we worked a lot. Honestly, we worked a lot while I was rehabbing and just coming back. Even before I could really jump, just trying to work on, what we here in the building would call like connection, like basically, ball placement, how close, you're bringing the ball into your body. Because before I just held it out a little bit further than, what was really ideal. And I think that's really helped with everything. Just getting my feet under me and having a good connection just kind of helps me with all the other little details, like, shot, like the how am I trying to say it, the efficiency of getting the ball out of my hands quicker, and also with the right arc. I think that was another thing that we were trying to tweak just a little bit, was to take it from a little bit flatter and just have a little bit more forgiveness on the ball.
I think any new player comes in here, particularly the undrafteds, even with all the success this organization has had with undrafteds, there's always a question, like, how is this guy going to fit?
Yeah.
What is the skill set that he's bringing? But there's been a definite tone change when it's come to the fan embrace of you. They were like cheering like crazy for you the other night. Okay, during that sequence and especially the sequence where you had the two offensive rebounds, and then Jimmy fed you with got you the ball with a 3 in the corner. Have you felt that lately? Have you felt like you've kind of, in this very short period of time this year, kind of proven what you can bring to this team? Do you hear any of that stuff? Are you hearing things when you're out in the community? Just good job. What are you hearing? Like, and how has it changed maybe from when you first came in?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously first coming in, like, no one knows who you are, no one knows what you do. So I think you're kind of under a microscope, especially being undrafted. Like, what's this guy going to do for us? And I mean, I think that's understandable. But over these, this year and even last year, I felt like whenever I was playing, I felt like I was starting to get a little bit more comfortable, starting to have somewhat of an impact on the game. And then obviously the injury and everything happened. But, I feel like I said, I just feel more comfortable out there. I feel confident and just feel like, I can go out there and just be myself, basically. I don't necessarily hear anything out in the community or anything. And I'm not big on social media or anything like that. So it's not like I don't have Twitter. I don't have TikTok. I basically just have Instagram. So I don't really see anything. I try to stay away from it because, most of the time it's not really anything that you, good or bad, not necessarily anything that you need to see, I feel like.
It's players get in their heads one way or the other.
Yeah,
right? Good or bad,
yeah,
right?
Good or bad. I never want to get too high, too low, that kind of thing. Because, I mean, you guys know from my journey and just this whole thing, it can be fleeting. Like, you never know what's going to happen. So I just try to stay very in the moment and just try to appreciate each opportunity that I get.
I'll let Alex close here. I just had one more quick thing. Has your expectation level for yourself changed now with what you've been able to provide now that, again, you've been playing rotation minutes of late, and not only that, the other night you were like third on the team in minutes in the entire game. You've been playing fourth quarters, closing. I mean, these are all things that a lot of guys on two-way contracts don't get the opportunity to do and don't flourish when they get the opportunity to do it. Has your expectation for yourself changed at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think, I expect to be able to go out and at least hold my own to play well. I mean, it's not like I'm expecting to go out there and, hope I don't mess up anymore. I think it's kind of more, I would say, the difference. Like before, you get those opportunities and you just, you get out there and you just don't want to mess anything up. And now I feel like I'm going out there being myself. And just like I've been saying, just trying to put your fingerprints on the game somehow, some way.
So, Dru, I asked you about the defensive side of the floor. On the other end now, on offense, you guys have, as of late, kind of jumped into the top 10 an offensive rating here. And of course, like, stats will change all throughout the season. So it could be, one day you guys are making more shots than another. So I know you guys are not necessarily worried about that. But as far as the process on offense, on the offensive side of the floor, what do you think has changed for you guys? Like just in, the different iterations of the team that you've seen, right? With this roster, it feels like there's a lot of shot creation on the team.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trying to find a balance there. What do you think of where you guys stand on that side of the floor? If there's anything you think can get better, or do you think something that's gotten better as of late? Just in general, your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just talked about it today. Actually, like our shot profile is one thing that has definitely gotten better. Just however they categorize it, just layups, threes, or layups, open threes, that kind of thing. I think we're doing a better job of finding opportunities to get those layups, taking our threes whenever we're open, not passing up shots, because those usually then lead to tough twos in some way, shape, or form. So I think our shot profile and just working the game to find those, just the more efficient shots more often than not. It's not you're always gonna have to take some twos. You're gonna have to, force up some shots late in the shot clock, that kind of thing. But I think that as a team, we're doing a better job of just finding the easier, slightly more efficient shots. And I mean, that's really all it takes to get those offensive numbers to jump a little bit.
Well, Drew, you've been a big factor in the team playing better here of late too, and we're glad to see you get the rotation minutes. And we're going to workshop this. We're going to crowdsource it. We're going to throw it out there. We're going to find you a nickname. We're going to get you 3 options, and I'll bring them to you tomorrow night after the Heat play the Raptors, and we'll let you choose. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. We can do that.
I feel like you're so unassuming that you wouldn't even go with the nickname if we gave it to you. But we're gonna try to find.
That's for sure.
All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and again, congrats on the recent success with the team, and hopefully we'll bring you on after you get that standard at some point here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Drew.
No problem.